You learn by your mistakes. I know it's been said plenty of times before.
Let's start with, what would you tell somebody who wants to start gardening? I'm very excited in February. By July, I have lost all interest because it's too hot.
There's a lot of mutual benefit of growing a wide range of things.
Oh, mere bhai. Hello there. It's in the same sitting, but we are breaking this interview into 2 episodes. If we had time, we would have done 3 or 4, but let's do 2 this time around because Bob has so much knowledge that I would like to showcase to the rest of the world the amount of things he has taught me. So again, introduction, this is my friend Bob.
Good afternoon, everyone.
So Bob, previous episode we discussed the farm, your schooling and things to that nature. I want to start now the life after retirement. But I would like to pick your brain on 2 other things, which is planting vegetables or flowers, general ideas that you can go to a new gardener. I do want to talk about our microclimate in 6A, how it has affected our growing. And I do want to discuss about your hobbies.
Okay.
So let's start with, what would you tell somebody who wants to start gardening? And the first word they say, and I know you will say the same thing, I don't have a green thumb. And I don't understand what that means.
Everyone's got a green thumb. It's just you have to take the black off it a little bit, or the mud off it a little bit. But start small. Don't try to do anything too overwhelming. Good soil is key, whether it's in a pot or in the ground. Location, you want good light, good soil, sufficient water. There's plenty of basic vegetables, tomatoes, stuff like that to get started. It's really a lot easier than you would expect. It's really just get started. Whether you do a pot with a tomato in it, pepper, whatever you like to grow.
So one of the things which I've done, and I've inspired quite a few people in my life, and these are friends, and one of the stories that I'll share over here, and I think I've shared with you, but I'd like to share with others also. A friend of mine, a co-worker, and she wanted, when she realized that I grow things, she asked me a question. So I told her, just start in a pot. So the first year, I think she did it in a couple of months. I think so. I don't remember exactly. And she has 2 young kids. And the son, who was 7 or 8 years old at that time, helped her, and it became a family thing. So the next year comes, and he knew which tomatoes he wanted. He wanted those particular cherry tomatoes. Okay. He didn't want the beefsteak. And that just excited me. And from then on, now they have raised beds, and they grow enough. Family, it has become a great family affair.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. And a lot of, getting new gardeners started, it's key to get the kids started. Very important. I was a substitute teacher for the horticultural program over in Union County Vocational School for a number of years. And it's important to get those kids' interest up.
And I think you will say the same thing. One thing good about gardening is it brings you out. It keeps you out of trouble. You get some fresh air, and then in a few months you get the fruit of your labor, right?
Your bounty.
And then that excites you. So one of the things which I do, I make my own spices and I dry herbs. And people ask me, why do you do that? Why do you waste that much time? And when I tell them that in January, when it's snowing outside, and I use that dried parsley or whatever that would be, I said I can still smell the dirt.
You can still smell the sunshine in it. Open that jar and you see a June day.
So it gives me a reason to keep on doing.
Sure.
And my other issue is, and I think Bob and I have discussed in years, I'm very excited in February. By July, I have lost all interest because it's too hot.
Tiring. Too tired. The weeds have won.
Tomatoes and peppers, everybody do. Mm-hmm. What else a new gardener should try? Cucumbers is the other thing.
Cucumbers is easy, but cucumbers could be rough because at home, usually chipmunks, things like that, get them. This year, the cucumbers are doing great. I haven't seen too many chipmunks, but they're choking out everything else. But squash, Usually very easy, a great one to start.
Both the green and yellow, right?
Yes, I tend to like the green better than the yellow.
Okay.
But there's plenty of winter squashes, which are best too. Delicata, eggcorn, very easy to grow, great for a fall crop. You might want to keep away from some of the root crops. Carrots, you need a lot of patience with. You need the right soil. Radishes are an easy one to grow, a great one for kids because they're up quick. Okra is I used to love growing okra, not so much for the pods, but for the plant itself. Some vegetables you could do ornamental as well as edible. A lot of the peppers like that too. I like the way some of the peppers look. Some of them are a little too spicy for me. You like spice. I used to love spice. But you know, there is not only the edible quality, there's a great ornamental quality that you can pick up for growing. You can mix vegetables in with flowers a lot of times if you're doing containers, and it's a good idea. A lot of the flowers are good for your pollinators. So there's a lot of mutual benefit of growing a wide range of things.
Because as you mentioned peppers, and in our last episode, you talked about that how some stores will have like 2 or 3 different kinds of peppers or 2 or 3 different kinds of tomatoes, and you had a wide variety.
Yep.
And I learned a lot of peppers from you. Surely I pushed you, and I think I'll take the blame, growing the really spicy ones.
Yep.
But you were still growing like decently spicy peppers before I mentioned that to you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we'd always do the habaneros and usually some of the hot lemon drop, you know. And again, those are the lemon drops are great ornamental one.
Lemon drop is one of those. It's yellow. Don't confuse that because of lemon drop. I think the word came from the yellowness of it. I don't think it has any citrus flavor to it. But
It's supposed to, but yeah,
but it has a very floral flavor.
It's a fruity and a little fruity flavor.
And same thing with Mad Hatter.
Okay.
It looks beautiful. It looks like bells.
Yep.
And just having some pots sitting on your balcony,
Definitely.
mixed with some flowers, it just looks wonderful.
Yep. We're growing a lot of shishitos. Are coming in great now. Shishito pepper. It's usually they're about 3 to 4 inches skinny. It's a great grilling pepper, and 1 out of 10 has a little bite to it. So that's something you normally wouldn't find. That's well worth looking for.
That's a lot of fun. There's a purple pepper, Bob, that you gave me, and I forgot, and I was growing it last year, which changes like 3 colors. Do you remember the name?
I know which one. It had the purplish leaf to it too.
Yes.
And I cannot think of it right now. Let's see.
That's fine. This is the knowledge you get. When you go to some other place, you have to figure things out. And I keep on reminding you, Google is a wonderful place to find things. But if you do not know what question to ask, you'll never find anything. When you talk to a human being, even the question you won't have, his experience will know what you're trying to ask.
Yes.
And he will give you that much information that suddenly you're like, oh, and he'll build you confidence. And right now, I think you've already done, and I hope more people start their gardens.
Yeah.
So that's about gardening.
Well, there was a big jump in gardening too with COVID. That was one thing. People got stuck at home, and that was a great thing to see. And again, that's something that started, a lot of people on the right track, and I think that's continuing.
And since you mentioned COVID, one thing which I've learned that I typically don't go out to buy things. I'm one of those geeks who buys everything online. But even places like Amazon has so many different products
Yes.
to support your gardening. The trellises and so many different things.
Right.
So that has changed a lot. And surely you can do it. It's a good, fun thing to do. If you're single, fine. If you have kids, do it with them. So gardening brings us to microclimates. 6A, Northern Jersey, we live.
It's really hard to pin microclimates anymore because your weather is so sporadic around the state and so changing from year to year. You look at like last year, we were in the middle of a deep drought. It was horrible. The deer were coming in because there's nothing left out in the woods to eat. So they just were decimating the crops around the farm. And here we are this year, almost the total opposite, where you're getting these heavy rains. but it's very spotty. We haven't been too bad. I go up to Matamoros, Pennsylvania, which is up by Port Jervis, and they had 3 rains in last month that have been over 5 inches.
Are they in 7B, or it's just not in Jersey?
No, that would have been, I think they're more 5.
Okay.
It's not, it's Montague's right across the river from us in Jersey. So it's right at the border. It's where the 3 states meet.
Got you.
And I, in fact, at the store here, I always would buy like my perennials for Zone 5. I just wanted to get the most durable thing for people. So I definitely think over the last few years, we've seen a more warming trend. And you look at the winters, it's got a snowblower that hasn't been used in 2 years. But again, when that pendulum swings back, it seems to swing back with a vengeance.
Because one thing which I kept on talking about in the series that we're doing, I did not start my summer garden almost the second week of
July?
No, sorry, June.
June. Okay.
And we used to start around 25th of May. That used to be the date.
Well, traditionally, I mean, it was always Mother's Day was your big day to start gardening. I know garden centers would be, but this year it wasn't rainy. I don't know what, well, I guess it was rainy earlier season, because even up here, I did till mid-June at least, it dried out enough where we could start getting stuff in the ground. I just planted the last of my tomatoes today. And, it was always by 4th of July was the last cutoff. But I have the tomatoes, I got the spot, might as well put them in and see what happens.
So a common friend of ours, he came over yesterday. He lives in 7B. I won't use his name. I'll let you know later.
Okay.
And he was mentioning, because he lives south of us, still in Jersey, he said he has had the best season this year.
Oh, I believe things have grown crazy. What you could get in the ground, plants will look best at this time I can remember in 5-6 years. I just wish they'd ripen. Tomatoes haven't ripened yet. They're there. This stuff does look beautiful, which is surprising in that short amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because my peas, beans did excellent. My tomatoes are still haven't changed colors yet, but they are growing pretty nicely. And I actually planted some plants myself yesterday.
No, you find the spot and you got the plants.
Because I cleaned out all the spring plants yesterday.
Okay.
So I got space. I'm saying, why waste it?
Right.
So one thing which I'm converting to, and I want your opinion about it. I've started appreciating raised gardens. What's your thought?
I'm a big one for raised garden. My garden at home is raised. My garden in Pennsylvania is going to be raised. It's going to have to be there. Can't get a thing into the ground. You have a lot more control on the moisture. You can really work the soil well. Easier to clean out, easier to weed, easier to monitor if there's any pests, things like that. I firmly believe in raised gardens, or even just growing in containers. At home I have a good-sized raised garden. It's not as raised as big as yours back here, but it's 2 feet high. Makes a big difference, especially with encroaching age, to get in there and clean it out.
And actually that's my point also, as I am myself aging, because I used to sit on my feet and do things. I can't do that anymore. And standing up and doing it gets done very quickly. Weeding is like hardly any compared to you start a garden in let's say in May. By 4th of July, the weeds would have been taller than the tomatoes.
Right. And it's been a battle with all the moisture this year. Every day I have to get in there and hoe and and it's so wet, the plants stay right there. So where at home, I can just go through, clean it out.
And then watering becomes easier also.
I think so.
Because I hand water. Because with hand watering, what it gives me is, then I'm looking at each plant, I'm checking the pests, I'm checking the weed.
Mm-hmm.
It takes me an hour surely, but if I run a sprinkler, that will run for an hour also. And I spend far less water, and I get more appreciation, and my plants
do better used to it. Yeah,
my plants do better with it.
My problem with container, I always put too much in the container or in the raised garden.
Since you said that, I mentioned in one of my videos, and I need your opinion on this. I'm a big believer of planting crowded.
Okay.
What's your?
To a certain extent. I have cucumbers at home that are just that are choking out peppers and stuff. So there is a limit to crowding a little bit. Mixing the plant is probably not a good thing. If I had maybe 2 cucumbers in the container rather than a cucumber, well, it's not in containers, but side by side, it wouldn't choke out the peppers as much.
Gotcha.
Certain things you can though, and start out, I'll do in some containers, I'll start out where I'll put a tomato, I'll have 3 lettuce plants around it. Figuring when the lettuce starts to take, the tomato starts to take off, that lettuce is gone. Hopefully eaten, not by a rabbit or the deer.
So you're in retirement now.
Yes.
I know you still do stuff, because even this year I got my plants from you. I think right now you're just doing for yourself and some friends, mostly.
Well, yeah, friends and a few like the apartment buildings, things like that. The Master Gardeners redid their sale this year, which was great.
So what are you doing in retirement?
Pretty much taking care of the property. Between now we have the 2 houses and the farm here. That takes a lot of time. Taking care of my father, family is good. I plan on doing a lot more fishing, but it doesn't. I have 3 rods my wife teases me on that are always in my truck. They've traveled back and forth to Pennsylvania 25 times, and they have not seen water yet. I have a Pennsylvania license and a New Jersey license. Again, haven't used it, but maybe this week coming up. Well, a lot of the problem has been the rains too. Streams have been unfishable because just 5 inches of rain, 6 inches of rain ruins the fishing. My quest has been to go shad fishing since I retired.
I do not know anything about fishing, and I know you like hunting also.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who is interested, what will you tell?
I enjoy freshwater fishing. I'm not a good catcher, but I just enjoy fishing a lot. It just, to me, it's very peaceful to get out. Not a big person for saltwater fishing. Stomach can't take it that much, or I can't get out on the big boats, but I really enjoy going to either a lake or stream, walking by. Again, I'm not the best of fishermen. I tease my son. My son has become a much better fisherman than I'll ever be. And that's maybe because I never had the time to teach him how. He taught himself how. So I still like to go hunting. I do that in the fall. I belong to this club that I started out with my father. We hunt in Pennsylvania, deer hunt pretty much. I joined the club in the late 70s. In 1983, I became their secretary, which to this day I continue to be their secretary. In 1986, I became their cook, which to this day I'm still their cook. And but hunting's changed a lot for me. We used to, when we were kids, again, we used it a lot to feed the family. We used to do a lot of small game hunting. We used to go deer hunting a lot. And at that time, we were raised pretty much on venison. Back then, that's my high school, elementary, high school days. These days, I haven't been small game hunting in 25 years. I go deer hunting only because I'm a member of this club and it's really traditional. And I have to go, somebody has to go up and cook for them. To me, it's really more of an excuse to go out and read a book in the woods and carry a gun. But, my wife doesn't really eat venison. My kids don't. They'll eat it if it's out, but they don't like it as much. So I won't go out. I don't enjoy getting a deer anymore. I enjoy seeing them. I enjoy seeing different things in the woods. But to actually go out and hunt, is enjoyable, but not the primary reason for getting out in the woods. A lot of it's, like I say, more traditional, just getting together with these guys. There's 15 members in the club. There's always been that 15. Different members over all the years, but sort of brings you together for the 1 week. And it's not like it used to be. We used to, guys would go up for the whole week. Now I'm lucky if I can get them to go up for the first 2 days, which is a challenge buying food for 15 guys and having none of them stay the whole time. But it's always good to get together with them. We go up for work details. In October, we have a pig roast, which
I was actually about to go there.
Yeah. Because I cook for about 40 people. First week in October, beautiful time to be up in Pennsylvania in the Poconos. We'd go up, we'd have to post the property that we lease and hunt on up there. So you'd get all the members up there and they'd always have a pig roast. And it became much more of a social thing. Each member could bring so many guests. So we'll have 40 people. Was always held on a Sunday it was the whole weekend, but we cooked the pig on a Sunday, and then we'd have to clean up real quick and get out of there. Now we cook the pig on a Saturday, and the whole thing has just been so much more enjoyable because you're cleaned up Sunday, everybody drifts in and out. But the pig is usually about 125 pounds. I don't do that, but I cook everything else for them.
Because one of the things which I don't eat pork, but when Bob sent the picture of the roast, it looks so beautiful. I said, if I ever eat pork,
You'd be tempted.
it will be.
Yeah.
The skin looks crispy. Bob, I will ask you if you can send me some of the pictures, and we'll
Definitely.
display.
Yeah, it's done on an open flame. I'll try to get a picture of we have quite the contraption built up now to cook it in. When you start Friday night, you have this big, huge bonfire to build up the coals. Guys sit around. Some of them drink beer. Well, no, probably all of them drink beer. But it's a really great time to be up there. Had some crazy things happen around, up there at the time. One night, 25 guys sitting around the fire, and here comes a 4-point buck walking up right to the fire. And we have a picture. It's not a very good picture, but it's a great time to be up in the woods.
And because for people who do not know this region, the time period is mid-fall, roughly speaking, right?
Yes.
Mid-fall. So that's a very nice time to be out because it's still warm enough, but the evenings do become chilly. But having a bonfire, I think, takes care of it.
Yep. Sometimes that fire's so big you can't sit near it, but because it's still quite warm. The fall leaf color is starting to change. It's probably not at peak, but it's close. So it's definitely a beautiful time to get out in the woods.
Bob, any parting words?
I would just say for most people, if you want to start out in gardening, biggest thing, you've said ask questions. The next biggest thing is never be discouraged. You learn by your mistakes. I know it's been said plenty of times before, but the key is you learn and try again.
And asking questions. You can always put questions in the comment box, and Bob or I will try to answer and try to help everybody.
Certainly. So it's all a learning experience for everybody.
And it's a very good experience to have. So thank you very much, Bob.
No problem. Thank you, Asif, and thank you all for listening.
This was our interview with my friend Bob, and like a little kid, I will never stop laughing about it, to say it that way. The channel was created because he is a mentor. He taught me a lot, and I just want to appreciate that. When you watch our videos, do like them, subscribe to our channel, and thank you so much for watching.